welcome to the Oxygen Addict Triathlon Podcast. We're brought to you every week by our sponsors PrecisionHydration.com, who offer electrolyte drinks in different strengths to match how you sweat. You can personalize your hydration strategy today at PrecisionHydration.com, and you can get a free box or tube of pH worth up to $9.99 using the code OxygenAddict. We're also brought to you by foodcell.co.uk, the next generation of top tube nutrition carriers for your bike. They're designed to allow endurance, triathletes and cyclists to carry enough food and gels while allowing easy access. You can check it out at foodcell.co.uk. And we're also brought to you by teamoxygenaddict.com triathlon coaching, helping hundreds of age group triathletes see huge improvements in their triathlon performances. The time training system makes sure you get the important training done each week in a way that complements the rest of your life. Right, everybody, welcome to the show. As you can probably tell from the lack of Helen's usual lovely dulcet tones at the start of the show, she is away this week, so I am flying solo. So, a couple of things to tell you about then. Today we have got a couple of great interviews. First up, I've got an interview that I managed to get with Outlaw X winner Simon George. Really interesting story about him. I know lots of the people in Britain listening will know his name from lots of success he's had over the years, but he had a horrific bike crash last summer, resulting in all kinds of memory problems and challenges for him. And he goes into some details in here, and what's quite an emotional interview at times. I've got a lot of respect for Simon for coming back from the injury. And people who watched Outlaw X, watched him across the line, it was a very emotional win for him. And I think this interview will go some way to explaining why that is for people. So we've got that coming up. And we've also got a short interview that Helen got with Michelle Vesterby after she caught up with her after Ironman Italy. So some good stuff there. Right, first up, we're going to go through a bit of results, and there's been a bit of racing going on this weekend, so shout out to sponsors Foodcell. You can get a Foodcell for £5 cheaper than it has been. The price has been reduced by £5 to $39.99, and I love these things. These are great for carrying your food or your gels, and also for carrying around your spares kit. I carried my spares kit around in an Outlaw X, and I could get 2 tubes, 2 CO2s, tire levers, little multi-tool in there, CO2 inflator, and it absolutely belted down with rain the whole time, and the whole kit stayed dry. So if you had your gels in there or your flapjacks in there, really cool system for keeping that stuff out of the rain, and you can open and close it with one finger. So you can go over and check that out at foodcell.co.uk. All right, so the racing that went on this weekend over in America, we had Ironman Chattanooga. I don't know why I said that with a Newcastle accent, but there we go. Hideous heat wave they had going on down there. 95 degrees on the run, which really affected a lot of the run times down there. We had wins for Sam Long in the men's race, who took it out ahead of Matt Russell and Nicholas Chase. I think Matt Russell is off to race Kona in a few weeks' time. So Sam really laid it down on the bike with a 4:23 and then held on with a 3:06 run, I think really underlining how hot and unpleasant it was. In the women's race, Angela Nath took it out in 9:18 from Lisa Roberts and Lenny Ramsey. And I actually had to look back and check this up because I thought, I'm sure Lisa Roberts raced just last week. And she did. She won Challenge Madrid, the full iron distance, just a week before. So she's flown back from Madrid. And then she's finished second in this race as well with a very solid race best 3:10 marathon, which when we compare it to the men's race best time of 3:06, she was not running easily. You know, she's not running slowly after hammering herself the week before for the win in Madrid. So absolutely hats off to her for that one. Other interesting news we had racing down in Augusta 70.3. Always an athlete of interest is Lionel Sanders, who's going to be racing in Kona, and obviously he's coming back from injury. No one really knows what his form is like. He took the win. He had his usual swim a couple of minutes down on the front pack, closed up on the bike, and then it looks like he kind of came into transition in joint first place, ran side by side for 16 and 17k, and then eased away from Bradley Weiss to take the win with Andre Lopez in third place. So he's run a 1:12 half marathon there 2-3 weeks out from Kona. So he's obviously got the form. The things I've read say that Lionel's idea is he's cutting himself back from overtraining by racing a 70.3 to stop himself going absolutely crazy in training. So I would really love to see him do well in Kona this year. So let's see whether that very unusual type of strategy. But you know what? This is a guy who does things differently, and let's see how it works out for him. The women's side, we had wins for Chelsea Sodaro in front of Sarah Pampiano and Lauren Barnett. Okay, other news that was going on this weekend. It was Super League Jersey, where it looked like they got struck by incredibly high winds that meant bike racing wasn't actually possible. So they ended up doing lots of swim runs back to back. So first up, over on the women's side, we had a win for Cassandra Beaugrand from France ahead of Katie Zafiras and Rachel Klemmer from the Netherlands. Vicky Holland took fourth in a sprint finish ahead of Taylor Spivey. So some great racing there. And over on the men's side, there was a big shock as Johnny Brownlee was the first athlete eliminated. They do this thing where the last athlete over the line is eliminated. So they came out of the water. Obviously, they went through transition to pick up the shoes. Johnny Brownlee wasn't the last into transition, but the three guys behind him all grabbed their shoes and ran out of transition and either carried their shoes with them or were faster in transition than him, and he was eliminated. So in terms of the standings for the series, he only picks up 1 point there, so that's going to damage his overall chances. But there's some great clips of that. The racing looks really interesting and fast and furious, so you go and check that out. The win was taken by Vincent Louis from Pierre Lacar of France and Hayden Wild. And Vincent Louis and Pierre were running side by side coming into the final sprint. And they had this thing called a short shoot, which basically meant if you'd won your semi-final the day before, you won the right to take a shortcut just before like in the final 100 meters. So it's a bit like one of those video games where you actually get to cut the corner. So yeah, he took a sneaky little corner and cut off 40 or 50 meters, maybe not even that much, but it was enough to take the win by a handful of seconds. Okay, so that's all the results for this week for us. So we're going to go over into our interviews of the week. First up, we're going to hear from Outlaw X winner Simon George. Okay, so Simon George, welcome to the show. It's lovely to have you on and great to get a chance to talk to you. And first up, congratulations on winning Outlaw X this past weekend. How are the legs feeling?
Yeah, they're getting a bit better. They've been a bit sore for the last few days, and stairs have been a bit of an issue. Plenty of smiling faces around work, laughing at me getting up and down. But yeah, we're getting there now. But first of all, I just want to say thanks for having some time for me and inviting me on the show. It's been a long time coming. You know, I thought I might have had the chance 4 or 5 years ago when Carl picked me to the post. So I've been waiting with bated breath since.
Oh, well, it's great to manage to finally get you on. And yeah, it was nice of you to come and check on me to see how I was doing as I was walking around in the days after the finish line as well. I very much appreciated that. So
yeah, well, the blue lips looks like they've disappeared a little bit now. So
yeah, I did get a little bit chilly towards the end there. It's all good now, though. It is a funny thing, though, isn't it? After you do a race and you have this reputation amongst the people you work with as like being super fit and always training, and then whenever they see you after a race, you get that thing where 27 people come up to you and say, "You look like you're limping. Is everything okay?"
Yeah, exactly that. If I had a pound for the amount of people who ask, "Oh, are you injured?" or "What's happened?" and I'm like, No, it's okay. I just actually had a race on Sunday, and it's all good. So, yeah, Monday was bad. Tuesday was worse. Yesterday, Wednesday got a bit better, and then I've been back on my bike since. So it's all good.
Yeah, we should get one of those T-shirts made that say like "Things only triathletes understand." Like, it's just how the 3 days after a race is. It's just business as usual.
Exactly. Yeah. I think we should. Yeah, we should get something printed up.
So first up, let's talk us through the race at Outlaw X then, because you were away in the Elite Wave, and I didn't get to see anything of you at all during the day until the finish line. So talk us through your experience of how the whole thing went, if you will.
Yeah, I think the word I'd sum it up with from my own perspective was a little bit lonely, to be perfectly honest. That's
nice from a winner's point of view. It's nice to not see anyone.
It was one of those rare days that you get where you kind of gun to tape and didn't really see anyone from a my competition point of view and until the finish line, really. Obviously, on the end of the run, you get to pass a few people and have a bit of a chat with some people that you know. But yeah, I kind of as you do, you kind of do your research about your event and probably who you're racing before you get going. And I knew some of the guys that were in the elite wave as well, and that I was going to be racing against. I come from a swim background as a kid, so I always tend to have a reasonably decent swim. I knew I was riding well. I thought there was a chance I might be able to get off the front, but I also knew that there was a good couple of lads in there that were very swift runners, and certainly time has told in the past, and I've known it for a lot of years that my run isn't my weapon. And I will always do. Most people know how I race. When they see me on the start list, they'll think, okay, strong swim, strong bike, and then hopefully we'll try and catch him on the run. And that's pretty much what it was. I got a gap on the swim, and I think I took that out by a couple of minutes for being fairly steady.
Okay.
And then that gap grew on the bike. Rode fairly hard. Really enjoyed the bike course. And then hoped I had some legs left for the run and didn't implode and get taken over 200 meters from the finish line like has happened in the past. So, it was one of those kind of self-paced efforts where I just really went into the race knowing within reason kind of what I could do.
Yeah.
And raced to that plan that I had in my head, really, which was, go out and see where you're at. It's been a while since I've raced a half, so there were some unknown aspects. Particularly, I was a bit worried about the run and the later laps of the run in particular. I thought I probably had a good 10 or 15k in me at the pace I wanted. I was a little bit unsure about what the last lap was going to hold. But in actual fact, it was fairly solid, and I was able to just do my own thing and not worry too much about what everyone else, knowing that they were chasing me down. Yeah, that kind of always happens. But yeah, just a lonely old morning, to be fair.
Did you have any idea of how far ahead you were on the run course? Because the run course Outlaw X, there's no out and back, so you don't get any sense of where anybody is, and there's so many twists and turns through the forest that you're not gonna see anyone until they're 20 seconds away, are you?
The thing that was quite handy is the sheer volume of the commentators. You've got Kyle and you've got Lee on the and Lou, I think, on the mic. And in actual fact, with how the run course goes, by the time I was about a mile into the run course, I don't think I was that far away from the back of like transition and the event staging. So I could hear actually when the next person was coming in into T2, because there was obviously quite a lot of flurry on the commentary, and second person into T2, closely followed by third, and I looked at my watch and I was already a mile or so into the run course. So I was probably 7.5 minutes in.
Yeah.
Which gave me some decent confidence. At that point, I was running pretty solidly for me. My aim was to go out and just tick over 6 15-minute miles. And the run course was a bit of an unknown for most people, I think, as much as turning up at the lake in the morning as well. I'm sure you were the same. This Outlaw X event.
It was a magical mystery tour, wasn't it? I quite liked the fact that,
and I think that added a really lovely dimension to it. Usually I'm writing a bit of a blog about it at the minute, but usually with a first time event, at least you kind of where you're swimming. Yes, we could get out on the bike course, and then where you're running. You can get. All you could do was go and recce the bike for this race. You couldn't swim. You couldn't even see the swim because it was behind a tree line and a padlocked gate and all this hoo-ha around that.
So we should say, shouldn't we, for the people who are listening, that because obviously the lake was part of a private country hall estate, and you literally just can't get there. And the same with the run course, you can't get to any of it. Exactly.
So, it's all on private land. So, there was almost this kind of shroud around it, and Ian made a big point of it, didn't he, in the race briefing of trust us, there is a lake and there is a full run course, and I think everyone that that entered, obviously, they had a lot of confidence that was obviously going to be there. But yeah, so I was on the run course, and I guess not knowing too much about it, it's I think from looking on GPS, you could get an impression that probably most of it was on reasonable kind of tarmac paths and things, but there was certainly an element of off-road to it.
Did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy the run?
Yeah, I did actually.
Yeah,
I don't often enjoy runs, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't often enjoy running full stop. I don't think is my general view of it. But it was a real nice challenging mix, to be honest. And even when I was getting on the run course, it was certainly wet. It was a bit muddy and a bit sticky in places on the off-road bits. But it actually seemed like it ran really well.
Yeah.
Despite the ups and downs, going and racing at Holcombe, that run is always brutal on me. I think brutal on everyone.
Yeah.
In here, I was a bit worried it was going to be similar, but the run course at the X seemed like it gave you more than it took away. Even though you were going up a few times, there were some quite nice sections where you could get in a really nice rhythm, or you got a little bit of help going downhill, and it seemed like there was always something nice to look at.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, definitely.
It was just really pleasant. Seemed like a really pleasant place to just generally hold a race, I felt.
Yeah, good stuff. And I thought you had a scorching bike time to ride 2:15 on that course. I think it was a really legit bike performance, and so hats off to you for that, because
Thanks.
It's not a fast course. I was led to believe by a couple of people, it's going to be one of those courses that, it's like a time trial course, the tarmac's smooth. And when you get in, I should have known better. I mean, how many times have I heard that? But it was like a good, honest country roads, but nothing too potholey, nothing too horrible.
Yeah.
But it was standard road surfaces, and there were lots of corners and lots of rolling bits. So to ride 2:15 on that, I mean, I'm imagining you must be really happy with that bike performance there, right?
Yeah, really happy. I mean, I think everything you said about the bike course is really fair. I think it was an honest course, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think it was one of those courses that had a bit of everything. You had a couple of steep climbs in there. One of them, within the first 5 or 6 miles that, took a bit of getting up. But once you were done, it was done. But there were some really nice open sections as well, where you could really get your head down and just get pushing. And I guess for me, I'm pretty local to the area, and maybe that played to my advantage, because I'd ridden on the bike course a couple of times. In actual fact, the weekend before, on the Sunday, I went out and had a ride around there, and it was a fairly nice morning. And I took the race bike out just because I wanted to get a real feel for it, with the gear in and how I was going to be riding. And even on that morning, I whipped around it probably a little bit quicker than I thought I would, and it did feel quite fast. Despite the types of roads that we were riding on, I think there was just enough sections in there that you could really kind of get to grips with it and push on.
Yeah.
And I like a quick bike course. I think the road surfaces were, generally really good. I can't think of another bike course over 90k that does one loop.
Yeah.
But in general, the standard of the road surfaces were so good.
Yeah.
Even just things like the marshalling and the traffic management and things like that. It just seemed like it made it easy to get your head down and ride quickly if you wanted to. And I guess in the back of my mind, I still had how quick the couple of lads were going to run off the bike and out of T2.
Yeah.
And so that always gives me a bit of motivation. When you got a couple of guys that that are 2:30, 2:35 marathon runners, and my best half marathon off just as a standalone is a 2:16. So I know that if there's a chance that I can get away, that I'll try and make the most of that if I can. And I was lucky, had a good swim, got on the bike, and the legs were there straight away.
Yeah.
There was no one around me. I thought, right, well, just get your head down and go for it. And yeah, it was the kind of course that I think kind of played to those advantages. You know, I was a couple of minutes probably down the road, and the guys behind probably didn't see me once, and that always helps when you're kind of maybe a bit out of sight, out of mind. That's from a mind games perspective.
Yeah, I bet it really does, doesn't it?
Like, you know, well, hopefully they can just forget about me and have a bit of a tussle themselves, and until the run, that is, let's say.
So you mentioned before, really, that this race it's like part of the big comeback after the year you had in 2018.
Yeah.
Tell us what happened to you there, because see, people are always aware when an athlete of a decent name has a decent result, and often don't find out when things aren't going to plan. And I only know the story because we bumped into each other at the Outlaw last year when I was waiting around to do the run, and you were spectating. Yeah. So tell us the story of your last year then, of 2018.
Yeah. So I started off 2018 fairly strong. Had the usual goals in place. Raced at Nottingham Half in May, PB there, and then 6 weeks later went to 70.3 Staffs. Had a great race there. Won my age group, second age grouper overall behind Harry Palmer. Went on holiday south of France with the family. Took a bit of downtime, and then the first day back, got back on my bike. Went out for a few hours, and 2 hours into a 3-hour ride, I hit a massive pothole out in the sticks of Lincolnshire, and flew over my handlebars and landed on my head at 28 miles an hour.
Oh.
Which hurt, hurt quite considerably with any ejection onto a road surface.
Yeah.
Fairly, you know, I was fairly beaten up, and you know, lost a lot of skin, and you know, pains in all different places. But I mean, I've ridden bikes for quite a lot of years, even before I got into triathlon, and you have the occasional crash. But this was the first notable one that I had that I really noticed that I hit my head.
Yeah.
So I landed on the back of my head and caved in my helmet and cracked it from the back to the front. And you know, got picked up off the road by a really kind lorry driver who stopped on the way towards me. Thankfully, about 10 meters before my bike, because that carried on down the road a little bit further.
Oh.
I was really aware of that lorry. In actual fact, I can remember hitting the pothole and thinking, crikey, I know that there was a lorry coming in the other direction. I've just landed in the middle of the road.
Oh.
But you know, it was not ideal. Let's say, especially when you're a good few miles away from home. You've crashed. As part of that crash, you've landed on your phone in your back pocket, so you can't make a phone call. So the kind of lorry driver did that for me and phoned my wife. She was halfway through her shopping in Asda. Put all that in the back of the boot, came and got me quite quickly, and took me to the local hospital in Lincoln, and where I was cleaned up and X-rayed and CT scanned and all of these things. Kind of almost given an all clear. So my head came back clear. My X-rays all came back clear, thankfully. Patched me up with the skin that I'd lost in various different places. And at that point, thought, oh, blimey, I've done really well. I've kind of been pretty lucky here. Could have been a whole lot worse, and haven't broken any bones. I should be able to get back on things quite quickly. I was meant to be racing Holcombe the weekend after, but I knew that was out of the window. But I thought, oh, okay, it's lose one race, but we can get back into things.
Yeah.
And was probably maybe later in the season to go to Weymouth or something like that. But as all the physical injuries started to heal, and dressings got taken off, and I was starting to get more mobile over a few weeks, I started to really notice a few things were, I think as I termed it at the time, were a bit odd. So I was, I don't know, let's say, leaving my keys in the fridge and leaving some milk out on the side of the kitchen. I'd forgotten all my PIN numbers for my credit cards and debit cards. Would get up to close some curtains and not remember whether I was actually getting up to close them or open them. And so my wife started looking at me and going, "Oh, what's going on? You don't seem quite right."
Yeah.
And it turned out and kind of progressed that, I'd obviously got a concussion from hitting my head, and you get all of the acute things that are associated to those. I think at the time a lot of those were masked with physical pain from other things. I'd lost a lot of skin and landed pretty heavily on the road, so you're fairly beaten up, aren't you? And it was probably only when a lot of the pain subsided from things that I was really able to start to get back trying to do stuff. So I, start to try and go out on the bike and have a little ride. And in actual fact, the first time I noticed there was some issues was I was going to get some dressings changed on my arm, and I drove myself to the doctor's surgery for the first time. And it's only 5 miles down the road in the next village to where we live. But by the time I got there, I looked in the mirror, I was dripping with sweat, pale. And I can remember on the drive over that it just seemed like really hard work to focus on kind of everything that I was doing. Driving comes naturally to you, doesn't it? And you don't about it too much. But I was really conscious of a lot of things. And as the weeks then kind of progressed, things didn't kind of clear up. So it turned out, and I ended up getting diagnosed from my GP as something called Post Concussion Syndrome, which I'd never heard of. So whereas the acute concussion symptoms can clear up quite quickly from from just a trauma, with the syndrome, it seems like for me things were just sticking around, and some days I might feel all right, but the next day the dizziness and nausea and headache and forgetfulness and almost changes in mood and things like that were really prominent, as if I'd hit my head the day before.
Right. Okay. How long did that go on for?
Yeah, so that was the really tricky side of it, because it ended up being quite a prominent part of life until about January.
Really?
Yeah. So from crashing in June, first month was sticky, missed a bit of work for the injuries, and then after that month I got into work, and that was another way that I started to realise that things weren't quite right, because I was trying to work, and I work at university and work at a computer and go to meetings and try to organise all these things, and I just couldn't pick up things that I was usually doing, and it kind of continued on this cycle of. At the time I was just turning it, I just feel really odd. I couldn't put my finger on what was wrong. There was numerous different things, which now I can say, I was dizzy and, couldn't focus, had some issues with some cognitive things and different stuff. But it was only really until probably January that I started to feel better for it. So, it was a real roller coaster actually. And it seemed like there was no real answer to how to cure it or how to make yourself get better other than just rest, which for athletes is not great, is it? When you're told to rest is pretty much the worst thing anyone can say to you, especially when you've gone from for me, I don't know, 15 hours a week worth of training is fairly normal, working full time is normal, doing stuff with my kids and my family quite actively is really normal, but then being told, right, something's not right with you, but the only way you're going to really get rid of it is rest. That's really hard. And I didn't deal with it well. Let's put it that way. I made some bad choices with, just I guess the flip side to the rest thing. Getting myself into work too much and trying to get back into, my normal. Let's say my normal routine of getting to work and back on my bike and all those kind of things. It was like, they said rest, but I'm sure I can do this and I'm sure I can do this. And it actually got to a point where I just couldn't do those things. And I think my body told me that, you really do need to rest. So I ended up with another week off work in August. And then I ended up on a phased return from work. So I was starting on like 2 half days a week and trying to build it up week on week, and even ended up having to put a stop on that at one point. And it was really tricky. It was really tricky.
Yeah. It sounds like it's one of those things that you felt would be dealt with in a few days, but actually has had a really significant impact for 6 months or more.
Exactly, and I think one of the biggest things that I probably didn't account for is that, and I think associated to obviously brain injury and things like that, is that, you know, it took me then into a bit of a spiral of probably depression and increased anxiety with things when you're used to doing things one way and then you can't do them, and especially if they're things like, you know, even at times holding a simple conversation with someone and looking them in the eyes and being able to understand what they're saying. When you're impaired in those kind of ways, and then you're trying to just deal with them yourself and say, yeah, it'll be fine in a few days. It'll be fine in a few days. Keep plugging away. You know, if you do these things, you'll feel normal. When in actual fact, the flip side of that was true. I just needed to take the pressure off and really do nothing. So, you know, like from a training perspective, I think between August and the end of December, I literally did nothing because I felt that terrible.
Yeah.
Some days I'd wake up in the morning and I used to go through this cycle of, right, I wake up in the morning, sit on the side of the bed and go, right, Simon, how do you feel today? Most of the times it was like, yep, still fairly dodgy. We won't be doing anything today. We can get to work and do something there, but you know, that's about all I could take at those times, and that was really hard to deal with. And I think the knock-on effect it puts a lot of things in perspective, isn't it? You know, you have a crash on your bike, and yeah, you might have been in the form of your life and had the race of your life the week before, but then when you do something and it affects your life, outside of being able to get on your bike and train and do all the things that you want to do from a triathlon perspective, but that it starts affecting your family life. You know, I've got a wife and two young children, a 3 and a 5-year-old girls, and when it affects your work life as well, and you're not able to do that the way that you're used to doing, it really makes you think, right, okay, let's take this a bit more seriously and make itself, you know, better and right. And yeah, it was hard to deal with, and I definitely deal with it the right way, but certainly learned a lot of lessons.
Was there a tipping point you can remember where sort of in January at some point you started to feel like things were getting back to normality again?
Yeah, it was as I was so I ended up getting back to work. It was kind of a progressive thing, really. And with the phased return that I had to work, I was kind of chipping away, doing more and more and more, and you know, increasing my hours gradually as I could go. And it was really in December. So working at the university, we tend to get a reasonable holiday over Christmas. So you know, probably had a couple of weeks away from work, and I'd been pushing things at work and getting back to my normal self. And then in that couple of weeks off that I had over Christmas, I was, you know, starting to feel normal. And that was when I was able to start thinking, okay, well, if this continues, you know, I think I've got a chance of you know, let's say 1st of January being a green light and starting to get back into the more regular things that I would do. And that, I think that showed up more issues as well, because I got to that point, and I think, you know, I'd obviously been away for a while and through a whole load of stuff, and all I really wanted to do was just get back to normal. So I took it to the nth degree and was really stupid and did a whole load of stuff in January, and ended up then making myself sick. So I had another 3 weeks off in February. Oh, no. And it was a bit of a vicious circle.
Yeah.
But, you know, you learn lessons, don't you? And you think, oh no, I know, I really know what's best for me. Yeah. I know what's right. I know what I can take. But yeah, often you don't, and it's you really do need to listen to people. And I've certainly learned that in a big way. And my wife, she always knows best.
Words to live by, for sure. Well, it makes the victory this weekend even more sweeter then, doesn't it? To have come back from, you know, what's essentially 6 complete months off of training.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you go through a phase of wondering whether you'd ever get back to it, whether you'd ever get back to training even?
Yeah, I mean,
racing.
I think I did. I mean, I think most people that know me locally, they probably saw the toll that that the time off had on me, both probably mentally and also physically, because I managed to put on 15 kilos from the point that I crashed to the start of January. So I came back into things at the start of January at 93 kilos, and I'd usually race at, I don't know, 78, 79, something like that. So that was probably an additional challenge that was added into there as well, to try and shift some body mass. But yeah, I'm not getting any younger. I'm 40 next year, and I certainly did wonder if I had another push in me, particularly to get back from the point, when you got training peaks and you go off TSS and things like that, and your training peaks is on zero. When you're building up literally from scratch again, after so long off, and all the other things that come with it, and I was this quick before, and the expectation that comes with that, when you've had a little bit of success, you kind of have people that look at you and you think, and you expect certain things, and it did run through my mind whether I had another. I had the commitment and the want to do it again, and I came up with I think I had one more in me, and I think having such time off and going through everything that we did, everything that I did and everything knock on that then happened with the pressure that was put on the family, the stuff I do in triathlon and I guess the reason I push myself so hard is really to try and make my family proud, and particularly my girls proud, and for them to see me doing well and to see the commitment that I have with these things. That's really my why as to why I do it. And I didn't want hitting a pothole and going over my handlebars and landing on my head to be the end of that.
Yeah.
Because I've been striving for good performances for a long while, and if it was one last throw of the dice and go to see if it happened, then that was going to be worth it. So, and at that point I thought, right, we'll give it a go, and I might get 2 months into it and have another not another physical crash, but I might end up sick again or whatever. But you don't know until you try. So my philosophy was, right, let's just be cautious about things. Don't be stupid. Don't do a January. January was stupid. And just see what happens. So I really, really steadily and gradually got back into things, and I guess I've been doing things for enough years that I generally know myself reasonably well in terms of what I can tolerate and how much stress I can take, and I guess having a background and working in sports science as well, that helps to be able to to gauge that and to limit that in some ways as well. It was a process of see what happens, and as the weeks ticked by, it was a case of, all right, that was all right that week. Let's do a little bit more, and all right. In actual fact, a few weeks in, it was like, oh crikey, things come back quite quick. I work with athletes quite often, and do physiological testing and max tests and threshold tests and all sorts of things like that. And I have that conversation with people all the time, and it's like, if you've been injured or you've had a bit of time off, don't worry. The consistency you've had for a number of years is all going to be, that doesn't just disappear overnight. And could I take my own advice? Could I listen to myself saying it? No, not a chance. Not a chance.
It's amazing, isn't it? The effect that another person has saying that to you.
Exactly.
You can know it, but you don't know it. That's the thing. Another person saying it makes you go, oh, well, such and such has said it. I think every great coaching relationship is built on that sort of athlete giving the coach a sort of a piece of their trust and going, well, if you say this, then it must be true. Yeah. It's really hard to do that on your own. And I often say, I don't think there's any such thing as a self-coached athlete. There can be a self-trained athlete. Yeah. But you can't coach yourself, because you can't, unless you've got some kind of split personality thing going on, because you can't hold that trust in yourself. You'd go nuts trying to think of it. Let me ask you, how old are your girls now?
So they're 3 and 5.
And did they come to watch at the weekend?
They did, yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's because it must be amazing for them to have seen the journey that you went through when they're so young anyway, to have seen that you weren't well and that you got well and that you got fit again. What was their reaction to you winning?
I think there's quite a few photos that are being flown around in different forums at the minute, and I mean, I'm certainly not disappointed by my reaction to I guess the last, I don't know, few hundred meters coming over the line. I was in bits, in absolute bits emotionally. I think it felt like a culmination of the last 15 months worth of everything just came together and kind of all came out on me. And seeing them there and being able to see them, my wife was there with my 2 kids. My mum and dad were there also. My mother-in-law, Lucy's mum, was there as well. Some friends were also there, and being able to see them on every lap, high-fiving Betsy, my daughter, on the way past on the run was fantastic. But as soon as I clocked them coming down on the finish straight, I was in pieces. There's some pretty special photos around there. We'll try and keep out of the public view, but I mean, I think Olive, my youngest, she didn't like seeing Daddy emotional. Let's put it that way. Okay. So that caused her to break out in tears, and she wouldn't come near me. So she stuck to Lucy. Betsy, my eldest, she enjoys watching me, and she always has done. And she likes seeing me go out for runs and ask me if she'll come out on her bike and things like this. And she could see how much it meant, and having Lucy there as well on the finish line. They all kind of jumped over the hoardings in the end, and so we had some nice photos underneath the finish line, and it was a real special moment, to be honest, Rob. It was for me, after everything that's gone on. The disappointment even of a few years ago when Carl pipped me, that it all just came together on the day, and it was just a real lovely time. So
nice.
Yeah, hopefully, the way I see it at the minute, I've gone from on commentary the guy that lost Outlaw half Nottingham in 2016 by 8 seconds. That always comes up. I always hear it around, but I've gone through that, and probably now being known as the guy that bawled his eyes out on the finish line and whatever. But if that's what it is, that's what it is. I'm fairly happy with that. So.
Well, maybe you get to be known as the guy who cheated a near-death experience and came back from it to win one last time. Hey, maybe that's the way we frame it for the commentators of the future.
Maybe so, yeah, we'll see. But when you've got two friends that are on the commentary and they don't mind giving you a bit of stick, I think that's probably going to be, it's probably going to be the other way.
I love it. Well, all right, man, listen, I think that makes a great place to leave it. That's a really nice end to the story. And it's really, like, I'd heard a little bit of your story, but I had no idea of the details of it. And I'm sure lots of other people listening are kind of thinking, it's easy to assume that someone who's won a race has had an easy ride to get there. When you hear someone who's run a race has had the most difficult path you can imagine to get there, then it makes it all the more sweet for you and all the more inspiring for the rest of us. So
thanks.
Another year? Can you squeeze another year of racing out, or is it too soon to tell? You're back for another year. Brilliant.
I think Good so. I mean, I kind of feel like at the moment, and racing on Sunday, I feel like I should be in May. Usually I'm getting myself ready to go at Nottingham half and doing things in May, but I found myself in September and I'm in really good shape, and I kind of don't really know what to do with myself. So I want to race again. I don't know whether I'll race in the next couple of months, maybe so. But I definitely think the hard work that I've done over the summer is not going to be wasted, and I think I'll keep on top of things over the winter and hopefully hit in for another strong year next year. And the way I look at it, I'm going to be gracing 40 years of age in February. And I quite like the fact that I can still go out and be fairly competitive against the young whippersnappers that are out there. And,
I don't know about be fairly competitive. You can get out and you can whoop them. Let's say it how it is, man.
I think I'll be there, I'll be there or thereabouts next year. And I think, especially after everything I've gone through, I think to try and have another decent season, full season, rather than be a one-hit wonder on one race in September. I think I deserve that. So I'll certainly be looking to race decent next year as well.
Nice. All right, man. Thank you so much for your time.
No problem. Thanks for having me, Rob.
He was a very, very popular winner there. Great to see him back. Local lads, trains on the course. There was a lot of local support for him. And I think the people who knew what he'd been through were really happy to see him back on the podium. So really loved interviewing Simon there. It's a great story, and it's a real lesson to all of us. I think that sometimes things go horribly wrong and it takes a while to get back, but we can get back to where we were before. So good for you, Simon. Next up, we've got Hell's interview with Michelle Vesterby that she got just after the race in Ironman, Italy.
Michelle, the day after an Ironman, it was nice to see that you're limping a little bit too.
I'm not really limping. Did you see that?
I saw a little bit of a limp.
I actually feel pretty good today. I'm actually a little bit impressed by myself that I don't feel more pain, because normally, you cannot turn around at Ironman hangovers are the worst. But actually, I feel pretty good. I'm ready for a 17-hour drive back to Denmark with a kid on 4 months, so that would be just awesome.
Generally, how do you feel after an Ironman?
And normally I feel really... Can you say wasted?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I feel,
Like hungover.
Yeah, exactly. So it's terrible, you have muscles that hurts that you didn't know existed. So just turning around in the bed can be painful. But yeah, today I actually feel pretty good. I don't know why. Not even because I won yesterday, so you have that, endorphin running around your body. So I don't know what it is, but something I must have taken my energy yesterday, right? Yeah.
Always good. And like when as a pro you come to win, that's inevitable. You go into a race, you want to win. When you do miss out on the podium, or you are fourth and then you have to watch everyone else there at the ceremony, is there a bit of you that's thinking, damn, if I could have done X or Y better?
For sure. I've been analyzing all night. That's why I've been awake, because of course there's things that you could have changed, and you see how close you are and what you should have done differently. But I also keeps reminding myself that I had a baby 4 months ago, and I raced Ironman Copenhagen 5 weeks ago, and now another one. And I did a 9:04 and a decent run, and I have improved since Copenhagen. So I keep that in mind. But of course, I was here to win. I was here to get an early Kona slot. So, of course, you reflect, and of course, there's always things that you can change. And I have never been in Italy before, so I didn't know how the race was developed and how, the thing was changing out there. So, yeah, if I should do the race again next year, there's definitely something I would change.
You said it there, and I watched you in Copenhagen, and I was just like, oh my God, the woman's amazing. Like, what did it take to line up there so soon after having your little son?
Yeah, so Ironman Copenhagen, I was the defending champion. I won it twice, and racing on home soil is just something special and something I think everyone can relate to. The atmosphere was great, and I had such a big support out there. I was smiling the whole way to the run course, and that was what kept me going in Copenhagen. I didn't thought that I could run a marathon at that point. So, definitely the atmosphere and the spectators and everything just kept me moving my leg. And then the thought about meeting Marcus at the finish line was definitely also a big motivation for me.
Did you expect to get back to that kind of fitness quite so quickly?
I did say when I got pregnant, I said, just in time for racing Ironman Copenhagen 3 months later. Did I believe it? No, not really. I promised myself during my pregnancy to take one day at a time, and as long as I did find it fun, to train and that I had a smile on my face, I would keep going. I still gained 20 kilos during my pregnancy, so quite a lot, and also quite a lot to lose 3 months after for an Ironman. So no, I didn't think it was possible, but yeah, being on that start line was definitely emotionally and a great choice. And also what I say to people, you cannot expect that people do the same as me. I've been really good at listening to my body, and I'm a professional athlete, so I know my body better than anyone because it's my job to know my body and to analyze everything. So of course I wasn't in my 100% fitness, but I was there and I knew that I could always finish an Ironman.
It's incredible because you found out that you were pregnant in Kona, didn't you? Like when you were just getting ready to race.
Yeah, I did. So it was great to find out because I really wanted a kid, but I didn't knew that I could be pregnant at this point because I was training really hard. So yeah, I raced with Marcus in my belly. I was 11 weeks pregnant. I did talk to a doctor over there, and all that feelings going on and all the thoughts going around. You learn how to deal with them, and yeah, I would do it all over again. I would definitely.
Because you trained a lot, didn't you? And you went to race Ironman Cozumel as well.
Yeah, Ironman Cozumel was maybe not the smartest thing to do. I was 16 weeks pregnant, and on race morning I felt pregnant. I looked at my husband and I said, "Today I'm pregnant," and he was like, "Yeah, I can see that." And it was actually funny because I've been having so good training session, and that was also why I wanted to go to Cozumel, because I still felt good. I didn't feel the pregnancy. I just felt, that something good was going on, and I was happy and emotional. And if you're following me, you know that my motto is keep smiling, and if I'm happy, I'm dangerous. So if I'm smiling, it's because I have a weapon, I want to use against you all, wearing my beep number. So yeah, that was also why I wanted to race Cozumel. But in that morning, I was like, no, not today. And then I had a puncture out there that I couldn't fix. I had my first 5 minutes penalty. So I was like, okay, this is not meant to be. So I'm not the biggest believer, but here I was like, okay, something bigger is talking to me, Michelle, stop.
How has motherhood changed you?
My husband say I'm more calm. I always been really structured. I think every pro athletes are in a way. But now I have to do everything on Marcus's principle. He's the boss. He's the mini boss telling me, "No, Mom, you can't go train because I want to eat. No, Mom, now I want your attention." So in that way, it's definitely changed me to be way more flexible. I always been a really social athlete. Like, I love to train with people. I love to chit-chat. I also like to do the hard sessions, but right now it's really difficult for me to plan training sessions because I've been breastfeeding until now. So again, if Marcus is hungry, he's hungry, and then people have to wait for me. I cannot just leave him, a screaming baby. That's not fun for anyone. So yeah.
How do you manage the breastfeeding during a race?
Yeah, I don't breastfeed during the race. No, he can take bottles, so he will get some. In the beginning on Ironman Copenhagen, he got my milk, but he's been getting some supplements like here. And he's 4 months now, so he's also starting to get a little bit of solid food. Or we're trying. He don't want it. He wants his mom's boobs, but we will try that even more now. We're going on holiday in Hawaii, so
yeah, because you're still going to go out there, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's behind that?
I think it would be a little bit difficult to go to Kona now. I can feel it already, watching up at the podium today and being fourth and coming to Kona and not racing it. I've been racing for the last 7 years, so I've been a really consistent athlete in Kona, and I love the island, I love the atmosphere, and that's also why I think it might be even harder to be home watching the race. Now I will be a part of it in a way. And I have a lot of sponsors over there and media, so I will still do my same routines. I will go out with some people for a bike ride the days leading up. I will do some interviews, and I just love everything about it. So I will just go over and hang out and have a great time.
And then the plan will be to try and get your Kona qualification for 2020.
Yeah, but not. Yeah. Of course, I want to be back next year. I'm really hungry for that race, and now I didn't get it yesterday, but I'm sure I will get it because I also think that people can see that I'm back and I maybe have improved already. So give me 4 more months, and I'm sure that this will be a really good season I'm walking into.
And the difference between you and your body at Copenhagen and then at Italy, did that surprise you, just how much you had your body had changed and you had developed again in that time?
Yeah, for sure. And that's also what I have to remind myself about, because I had 10 solid training days between Copenhagen and now, where I was on Lanzarote at Club La Santa. So these 10 days, how much can they actually change? Because I needed a recovery after Copenhagen, then 10 training days, then I needed to taper. So it hasn't been a long time. And I still ran 15 minutes faster than I did in Copenhagen. I still swam better, and I actually also biked better. So yeah, the body is an amazing piece, isn't it? What it actually can do. And I think, again, if you put your mind into it, it both recover faster and also get stronger faster. So yeah, I'm impressed. So that's also why I'm confident for what the future will bring.
And before you got into triathlon, you were quite a party girl, weren't you?
Yeah, I'm still a party girl. Now it just goes a little bit longer. Now that's also why I like to win races, because then you can do the party celebration, right? Also, when you're second and you have Lucy Gossett in first, then you can also dance and party, because she's, like me. Nice. So, that's also why I have to go to Kona. We are still discussing, Klaus and me, who's having the baby chance, who's being home with Marcus at the after party, and it's definitely not me. I'm like, it's my job, and he's like, yeah, you should stay home. So we will discuss that. We don't bring the grandparents to Hawaii. It will only be the three of us, so we will see what's going on.
There'll be other mums as well out there.
Yeah, I will try to see if I can find some moms that want to babysit Marcus. And I can tell them. Also, now we're on the podcast, if anyone is listening, going to Hawaii, please let me know. My baby is sleeping from 8 to 6, and I will be home before 6, I promise. So maybe I offer good accessories and stuff. Keep smiling stuff. Yeah.
You say that your motto is very much keep smiling.
Yeah.
When you have races whereby you have those moments whereby that smile is really not coming out, or you're having to work so hard to put a bit of a smile on your face, what is going through your head?
Yeah, so yesterday I had some moments on the run where I was like, this is not fun anymore. I like to win races, being in front the whole way. And I started out in front, and then I get overtaken, and that's really mental, because that's not normally my game. And then running out there, it's not fake when people yell at me. I really can't help myself. I really love to give something back, and I think people should try it. If they really smile at the audience, they get so much more attention and power back. And that's actually the energy that I was running on yesterday. So I just keep reminding myself that, hey, remember why you are there. And as I just posted this morning, there's nothing like a bad result as long as you enjoy the process. This is just a part of it racing. Of course, I love to race, or else I would not be in this job. There's so much you can take away from every single race, despite having a bad result, and that's what built you stronger. So there's nothing like a bad result as long as you enjoy the process.
And how are you going to spend your off season?
Yeah, you call it off season. I already signed up for another Ironman. No,
come on, which one?
I actually said to a few people out there talking to me yesterday, I was like, so if you see me on another start list this year, then please punch me. Make sure I don't start in another Ironman. I told my husband and my coach, and then last night at 4 o'clock I was like, hello Heather, can I sign up for no, I
you can do Arizona.
No, I'm definitely not doing Arizona.
Okay.
If I will do anything, I will do Argentina or Cozumel, I think. Cozumel I really love. Yeah. But I think it's stupid. I think I should take a break. I think I can allow myself to do a 70.3, but that's it. So I will spend the off-season 3 weeks in Hawaii.
Yeah.
I will of course bring my bike, my swimsuit, my running shoes, and that's how I want to celebrate. I can't stop moving, you know. That's also what I did in my pregnancy. I need to keep my body going, or else I will not be a person to be around. And my husband knows that, so he wants me to get out of the house a bit.
Do you get really antsy if you don't, like, annoyed and just like, oh, I need to go and let off some, energy?
Yeah, but that's also what I said to my mother group. I'm in a mother group. They have been seeing all the Netflix, series, and I'm like, I couldn't just lay on the couch relaxing. I relax when I'm on my bike, when I'm out running, being around friends in that atmosphere. So yeah, I'm not. I don't think I'm a nice person if I don't train or if I don't move.
And then, how much longer do you reckon you'll be doing this sport for?
Oh, I'm still so young, so I have plenty of years to go. I think it's difficult to say. As long as I find it fun to race, I have some role models in the sport like Kessler, and she probably don't want me to, she's a bit older than me, and she's still moving, she's
moving like shifting.
Fast. She's moving fast, So as long as I find it enjoyable and my husband approves it, and and Marcus, he seems to be in a good place when we're out traveling. He's been traveling more than he's been at home the first 4 months of his life. So I'm also looking forward to getting to Kona, show him the island, and getting a little bit of peace around us. So yeah, I think the sport gives Marcus some good ballast, and it gives me so much. And I think a happy mom is a happy kid.
Tips for training during pregnancy. What would your advice be to other people?
My advice is actually pretty simple. Listen to your body. That's the only thing that you can do. And don't listen to what people tell you to do, because everyone has their own story. Everyone has tried something different and had pain there. So in that way, it's really, really important to listen to your own body. And of course, surround yourself with people that knows you. And it's fine to have a doctor you ask, but if you ask another one, he will tell you something differently. So everyone has an opinion, and that's also why it's best just to listen to yourself and the people close to you. And I think it's good if you used to move, keep moving. I think that's only good for your baby. And as they said, the reason why I gained so much kilo was because of the fluids around in my belly to support. So our body is so smart, it's amazing. So in that way, I can see my baby is going around there. Maybe he's getting hungry.
No, we will finish there. Michelle, thank you so much.
Are we finished? No, we don't have to stress.
We don't have to.
No. If you're done, then we're done. Then I will go and give him some crazy sugar milk from yesterday.
You said he was awake all night was he with the extra sugar in the milk?
I think he's been farting a little bit extra, because it is sugar milk that he will get. So actually, that's the only thing where I feel that that's not okay that he gets sugar milk, but. Yeah, that's just a part of the game. I did milk out a little bit in the shower to make sure that he didn't get the first layer. So yeah, he will be all good. If you have seen my son on social media, you can see he's a big boy. He's getting what he needs. So yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. We will leave it there. I will let you get back to Denmark. But thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, so great interviews there. So finally, we're going to give a shout out to sponsors precisionhydration.com. Remember, they do electrolytes in different strengths to match how you sweat. So get over to their website, take the online sweat test. That'll give you a really good guide as to whether you're a particularly salty or a particularly heavy sweater. And if you are, you don't have to rely on just standard electrolytes. You can get electrolytes that exactly match how you sweat. They've got everything from 250 milligrams all the way through to 1500 milligrams for really salty, heavy sweaters like me. So get over there and check that out. And if you haven't tried that product before, you can use the code OxygenAddict to get yourself £9.99's worth of free products. That is an absolute no-brainer. Try it essentially for free. All right, guys, listen, thanks very much for listening. One last thing, if you guys are interested in getting yourself some coaching for the next season, then there's a link in the show notes. You can click on that and you can book a Skype call with me and we can have a chat about your training and have a chat about how you want things to go next year. Hopefully we can help a couple of people out with a free consultation. All right, so until next week, I have been Coach Rob Wilby. Helen Murray has not been here this week, but we do miss her. Hope you're having a great time on Hull's Hells. And until then, have a great, safe training and racing week, everybody, and we shall speak to you all again soon. Cheers now. See ya.